Friend, good afternoon, everybody. I hope to begin with, I hope that you all are doing well. We are, since last almost 2-3 months, we are working from home, everybody, including research scholars and faculty members. We are working from home. We are going through very critical time of this COVID-19. This pandemic has made a substantial impact on our day-to-day activity. And moreover, now, even although the lockdown is open now, there has been a lot of relaxation in lockdown in most of the states across the country. But still, everybody is saying that we have to live along with this coronavirus, and we have to get ourselves adjusted with the coronavirus. Coronavirus is not going to leave us; rather, it is going to coronavirus is not going to leave us. Rather, coronavirus is going to be with us. Coronavirus is going to be live with us. So we have to, understand, and we have to, get ourselves adjusted with the situation, and we have to start working. We need to start going to the universities and colleges and start working. Today, I have been advised to speak on drafting of research manuscript. As far as the research, senior research, because this presentation I have prepared for young research scholars and young faculty members. Those who are senior faculty members attending this webinar or participating in this particular interactive session, kindly excuse me, because I know you must have published substantial amount of data, numerous number of papers in various journals, and you might be having wonderful experience of drafting research manuscript. But for the young research scholar, those who are on the verge of submission of their PhD, or those who have recently joined their teaching career, for them drafting research manuscript is going to be very, very important. It's going to be very, very important. And therefore, to begin with, I'm going to tell you one small story. How this, because as I mentioned, or as it is, you can see the title is Art of Drafting a Research Manuscript. Yes, I mean it, because drafting research manuscript is, truly speaking, art. This is skill, and we have to earn those skills. Now, as far as earning those skills are concerned, like whenever we are talking about earning skills, we need a substantial consistency, consistent practice. And for that purpose, I would like to quote one example. Since you all are, I could see like most of you are research scholars and might be a few faculty members. And since you are from this young generation, you might be, you will be happy to listen the stories from cricket, the world of cricket. So I would like to tell you the story of world of cricket. Few years back, like maybe after 2-3 years back, we were having the one-day series between India and Australia. And I remember I have seen all those matches. One of the opening player of Australia, his name is Aaron Finch. He used to be clean bowled in most of the matches, like at least 2-3 couple of, like it was a five one-day series, and at least in first 2-3 matches he was clean bowled by Bhuvaneshwar, one of the very talented fast bowling aspirant from India. And I could see like it was because he is a wonderful player, a very solid player as far as technical aspect is concerned. He is very in technicality is very good, he is very sound. As far as the ability is concerned, yes, he is having wonderful capabilities to play. But in spite of that, he used to be clean bowled in first or second overs only. Later on, let me tell you, my friend, at the end of the 5 one-day series, when the press reporter asked him like, how did you enjoy playing against India? He said, no, I cannot. In spite of lot of efforts, somehow I could not adjust myself. And in every matches, I could like the Bhuvaneshwar got success for cleaning me bold, right? And he was not happy with that. But later on, what he did, he has seriously gone through the bowling actions, bowling aspect, capabilities, expertise of Bhuvaneshwar, and like he has come up with a different solution. Let me tell you, my friend. And he gone through the analysis, introspection, introspection of his capability, technical ability, mindset, and then he went back to the Australia. After a few months, maybe like 5 6 months, India went to Australia for the same one day series, and I could see the same bowler, the same batsman. And then like when our team went to Australia, he started hitting centuries. The same bowler, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, could not even could not got him even sing a single moment. So what is the moral of the story? Moral of the story is, because he got failure in when he was in India, he understood, he got the lesson. He like out of this failure he learned lesson, and he has understood like what were his problem when he was playing in India. When he went back, he has gone through all those details and started practicing, and as a result of that consistent practice, he could come out of that failure, my friend. The same, like similarly, whenever we are talking about any academic role, academic assignment, if you really want to earn expertise, whatever the academic assignment it could be, today we are talking about research manuscript. If you really want to earn those skills, you need a very very consistent practice, where you need to be very genuine person, you need to be very committed person, you need to be very hardworking person, and you need to be very consistent person also. Because if you are genuine, hardworking, very sincere only for a few days, it's not going to serve the purpose. You need to be very very consistent in your efforts, in your practice over the substantial period of time. And if you could somehow manage to be consistent over this significant period of time, I'm sure you are going to earn those skills and you will be having that level of expertise. And today I will be speaking about all those skills, how it could be earned, right? So let me share my screen. As I mentioned, this is going to be titled Art of Drafting Research Manuscript. Friend, if you are working in academic institution, whether you could be research scholar or you could be faculty members, I mean newly joined faculty members, research work, whatever research work you are doing, the publishing your research work is going to be very very important for you if you are really working in academic and research institute. It's not only academic, but even if you are working in some research laboratory, there also the publishing research work is going to be very very important. You can compare yourself, like for example, there are two research scholars, and both are genuine, hardworking, very committed, but one come up with good number of publication, other could not. Obviously the person or the research scholar who has got success in publishing his data in good journal is going to be rated at a high scale, and the research scholar who could not publish his data for one or other reason can never be rated at good scale, higher scale. And therefore you need to be very serious about this issue. But at the same time, let me tell you my friend, rejection is going to be very normal. You should not get demoralized. Rather, like what practice I am adopting in my research laboratory, whenever my research scholar is coming to me with research manuscript and asking me where this manuscript to be submitted, I always advise my research scholar to submit the first manuscript to a very high impact journal. The reason for that is, whenever you are submitting your first manuscript to very high impact journal, what is going to happen? Most likely your paper may be rejected, but you should not have any kind of fear. You should be very courageous to accept failure as well, rejection as well. And that's why I said the rejection is going to be very normal. You should not get demoralized with that. Only question is, you need to understand why research manuscript are being rejected. That you need to understand. Like whenever your manuscript get rejected, you need to understand like why that manuscript has been rejected by the concerned journal. And whenever you are submitting your manuscript in good journal, I mean journal of international repute, I'm sure the reviewer are going to send you very critical comments, very critical suggestions. And those critical suggestions are going to be a wonderful learning experience for all those who are going to submit, or who must have submit their research manuscript in very high impact journal to begin with. Because if you submit your manuscript in a very substandard journal or non-index journal, what will happen? Your first manuscript may be accepted. Now, if you are committing mistake, if there are some pitfalls in your investigation, in your research methodology, in your strategies, those substandard or non-index journal may not be able to identify those pitfalls, and you may not be able to know like where you are committing mistake. And therefore, if you could submit your data in good journal right in the beginning, you will be able to know what kind of mistake you are committing right in the beginning phase of your career, so that you will make corrections and you will be, like very fine-tuned research scholar in due course of time. And therefore, some of the, I have, like, whenever we are talking about why research manuscripts are being rejected, there could be two main reasons. One is that research manuscript may not have novelty. Of course, we are going to discuss it thoroughly, like how novelty can be inculcated whenever you are submitting, whenever you are drafting your manuscript. And sometimes, even if you have a wonderful novelty in your manuscript, but you may be having deficiency in quality of drafting manuscript. Like whatever writing style is going to be very, very important. Because हम जैसा कहते हैं ना कि आपका presentation अगर अच्छा है तो you can impress anybody. So similarly here also, your presentation of your manuscript should be very good. You need to convince reviewer, you need to impress, you need to convince reviewer that you are a very genuine and committed research scholar, sincere research scholar. So that can be convinced, reviewers and editors can be convinced by two ways. One is that you have to be, you should have novelty in your investigation, and second is you should have, you should not have any deficiency in the drafting of your manuscript, right? So these are the two probable reasons. I'm going to ask, because whenever I'm having face-to-face session, most of the time I'm asking this question to the research scholars or those who are attending the workshop. Like most of the research scholars nowadays across the country, I'm talking about entire country. So most of the research scholars are not able to publish their data in Journal of International Repute. You take a review. I did survey, because this is through my experience. I have, whatever statement I'm making today, this is out of my experience. That is why I said I'm going to share my experience today, nothing else. Experience of whatever I learned during these last 32 years. This is what I'm going to share with you today. So if you take a survey, or if you take a review of even like 10 random theses, you will come to know that out of those 10, around 60 to 70% theses are being accepted by the respective universities without having quality publications. Most of the, and maybe 30-40% percentage, like 1 or 2% could be here and there. Instead of 30, it could be 30-40% research theses are being accepted with good quality publications. Now, if you agree with me, because since it is not face-to-face session, I'm not going to ask you any question. Of course, you can comment in the comment box. There is no doubt about that. At the end, organizer can see those comments, and you can even, like, whatever questions you will be having during this entire session, you keep on sending your questions in the chat box, so that the organizers will be able to take a note of that, and they will be raising those questions at the end of this deliberation. So if you agree with me that yes, most of the research scholars are not able to publish their data in Journal of International Repute, then what are the probable reasons, right? We need to understand. It's not only like accepting. Like if you accept the fact, then you need to understand like what are the probable reasons. And I have listed there 9 probable reasons. There could be more than that as well. So out of my experience, I have listed down there 9 probable reasons. Like one of the very key or foremost probable reason could be issues in identification, problem identification. Because whenever you start doing research, or even forget about research, whenever you want to prepare data for submission of manuscript, you will have to do some experimentation, right? before that you will be identifying some problem. On that problem, research problem, you will be working. So you might be having some issues in problem identification, because problem identification is going to play very, very important role in due course of time. Because if you really want your data to be published in good journal, your problem identification should be very, very scientific. There could be inadequate literature review, because again, like of course, through literature review only you will be able to, you can fine tune your problem, and therefore you must be able to do a very comprehensive literature review. So one of the reasons could be you must have gone through inadequate literature review. Then although you have done literature review, but you must have, your formulation of hypothesis may not be correct, improper formulation of hypothesis, because formulation of hypothesis is also going to be very important. Then the next reason could be you may not have any social relevance. Whatever research outcome you will be having, that research outcome should have some sort of social relevance, because nowadays every journal is going to look into this parameter as well. Whatever data you have produced, whether that data, whether the research output is going to have some social relevance. Next reason could be ambiguity in designing of experiment, because whenever you write in the beginning after hypothesis, you will be planning for the experiment. So if you are having a lot of ambiguity in designing of your experiment, again that will lead to the substandard research work. Although you have designed your experiment properly, but whatever data you have got, you are not able to interpret that data properly. Inadequate interpretation of data, because once you have the data with you, you must be able to interpret that data very, very comprehensively. Next reason could be improper mapping of the strength of research scholar with problem. Why I'm telling this, sometimes what happens, because this is what I have experienced. Like I have gone through during these last 32 years, I have many, experiences. Like I have seen many research scholars, they are really like talented research scholar, but somehow he or she could not map his or her own strength with the problem on which he or she is working. मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है कि the research scholar who is going to undertake any problem, because you see, you cannot be everybody in this universe have one or other deficiency, one or other issues, shortcomings or weaknesses, and you are bound to have some strength. So whatever strength you have, you must be able to explore your strength and related your strength, because whatever caliber you have, whatever credential you have, accordingly you should start working on the similar problem. So you need to do like this is what I usually ask my students to do to begin with. Like you need to identify your strength, you need to identify the the related to your topic, and then try to do the proper mapping. Because if you could not do the proper mapping of your strength with the the problem which you are going to investigate, again you will not be that much enthusiastic work during the entire period, and then as a result of that that may lead to the very substantial very poor research output. Even if you have everything all right, but you are not good in as I mentioned earlier, your drafting, you are having very poor presentations. I mean, you don't know like how to draft manuscript. You don't know the content of the quality of drafting is going to play a very important role. That is why I mentioned on first slide, although it is novel, but since the quality is not there, the content quality of drafting is not, deficiency in the quality of drafting, you are going to be on losing side. And last, very important, is credential of research scholar, because nowadays whenever you are submitting manuscript, because if you are like first author, your credential is not going to be considered, but your advisor, the credential of your advisor is going to be considered. So whenever your research paper is received by any journal, what the editor is going to do to begin with in quick search, to begin with initial screening, the editor is going to see what are the credential of this research group. Because if you are first research scholar, like if you are in the beginning phase of your research career, you may not have any data published by that time, but your research advisor, your PhD advisor, he must be a senior person, right? So he must be having some publication to his record, to his so what is his track record, that is going to be tested. So these are probable reasons 9 probable reasons why your manuscript is not being accepted by the journal. Then I will move ahead. There are 4 different key aspects. Some of them I have already highlighted, but I would like to spend more time on this, a couple of slides, because this is very important. What are key aspects of drafting any research manuscript? And what I mean to say is, whenever you are submitting a research manuscript to journal, editor and reviewers, because initially editor is going to have a quick screening of your manuscript, and on the basis of quick screening he will take decision whether that manuscript should be forwarded for review process or should be rejected. And many a times you must have had this experience as well, like editor must have written your manuscript. It's not for rejection, but he will advise you to improve something, or he will not demoralize you. He will be sending your manuscript with very soft language, very encouraging language, that this journal is not appropriate for this kind of investigation and blah, blah, blah. Right? But truly speaking, he will be critically evaluating your manuscript across these 4 parameters. What are those? He is going to see whether it has got some novelty, the very first parameter. Now, question is how novelty should be inculcated in your manuscript, right? Then whether it has got some social relevance, means whatever data you have published, whether it has got some social relevance. Next is going to be whether this research group has some sort of credibility in the proposed area, the area, the research area in which you have you did research and submitted manuscript. They are going to see what kind of credential you have. Of course, this is not going to be considered that much very seriously, but still they are going to see, and that is going to have a very substantial impact as well. And last is going to be drafting skill of research scholar, as I mentioned earlier. So these are the 4 parameters that drafting skill means whether you could impress the editor as well as the reviewer. So these are the 4 parameters every editor is going to see, and reviewer as well. Now let us see by one. Novelty. Novelty can be inculcated. This is going to be very serious business. Let me tell you, my friend, inculcation of novelty is not going to be easy task. So in order to inculcate novelty, very first thing that you need to do is you need to do very rigorous literature review. Now, whenever we are talking about literature review, it's not only collection of papers from various journal. You need to understand where from you are collecting papers, right? Research paper for literature review, and therefore the identification of journal of international repute is going to be very important, because you need to understand what are the journals having international repute, what are the standard journal of international standard, that you need to understand. I have included those slides as well in my presentation. Even you need to go ahead, because it's not only identification of good journal. Like sometimes you must have identified the journal having impact factor, let us say 20, right? Thomson Reuters impact factor 20 is a Scopus index or Babasaheb index. So your job is now still over, right? Later on, what you need to see, whatever journal you have identified, whether that journal is publishing data related to the topic which you are going to investigate. That is also very important. Let us say you are working on sensors, right? And you have identified one particular journal having 20 impact factor, but during last 2 years that journal have not published single paper on sensors. So that is not going to be good journal for you for literature review. And therefore identification of journal of international repute is one step. Second step is identification of journal in your focus area. That is also going to be very, very important, so that you will come across the latest research work, what is happening elsewhere in the area in which you are going to undertake your research. Then one more important thing, identification of potential research group across the globe. This is also very, very important. Now, why it is important, let me tell you. Let us assume that you have gone through rigorous literature review. You have identified very reputed international journals, right? You have identified the reputed journal in your focus area, but somehow you missed in identification of research group working in your area across the globe. Why I'm saying across the globe? Because, for example, there is one particular group who is working in your area, very much close to your area, working in some US university, right? But but they are publishing their data in one particular journal for which you have not, somehow you haven't come across those journals in which the journals in which they are publishing their data, right? So what does it mean? It means that you are unaware of what they are doing, right? And then without referring their work, you have referred all other research papers, you have done very rigorous literature review, you have identified the pitfalls, accordingly you have formulated hypotheses, formulated your objectives, methodology, started working, did experiment, got data, and drafted manuscript. By that time it was novel, yes, because you have not seen their research work and submitted your paper, right? Whenever you have submitted paper to journal, the same journal, for example, like you have, because it may not be same journal, but what editor is going to do, editor is going to see, the first test is going to be novelty. He is going to see like whether it is novel. By that time, the other group which I was referring, who was working in other part of the globe, which you have not come across their research, what they are doing, they have already published that data just 1 month prior to your submission. What does it mean? It means 1 month prior to your submission of manuscript, your concept was novel, your investigation was novel, but since that group went ahead of you, you lost your novelty and you will not be able to publish your data in good journal. And therefore, if you really want to publish your data in good journal, you need to be very, very serious. You need to know what are the potential research groups working across the globe. It's not only India, across the globe. And you need to keep on, you should continuously keep on tracking their research, what they are doing. And you need to ensure that you are well ahead of them, or you will be investigating a little different problem than what they are doing, so that you will not be losing novelty whenever you will be submitting your manuscript. So this is one parameter that I thought, I should tell you. Then second parameter is social relevance. Now, how to incorporate social relevance in your research? Like, these are the steps, right? First of all, what you need to do, you need to do the identification. You need to identify your strength. Most of the time I always ask my research scholar, it's not only research scholar, this is true for everybody, every human being, whether you are student or faculty member, junior faculty member or senior faculty member, you should keep on doing SWOT analysis very regularly, on regular basis. That is why you must have seen the NAAC Accreditation and Assessment Council Bangalore, they have made it mandatory for all institutions to do the SWOT analysis after every 5 years. It is not like once for a while. Once you did your SWOT analysis and over, no, it's not like that. After every 5 years, you need to do again your SWOT analysis. Rather, I would not. I will go ahead of that. Every year, you need to do your own SWOT analysis. So here, what you need to do, you need to identify what are your area of expertise, what are your strengths, right? And keep on writing those, right? Of course, related to the area in which you are working, right? And then start identifying issues pertaining to your expertise, right? Societal issues, right, pertaining to your expertise. Keep on writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, right? And then you need to do one very important exercise, mapping up your strength with issues. Because that is going to play very important role. Like, whatever strength you have, you need to see like whether you will be able to map, because you might be coming across one societal issues, but you may not be able to address that issue because you may not be having that expertise with you, right? So you need to understand what kind of issues you are having related to the area in which you will be working, and what are your area of expertise, right? So once you could do proper mapping with them, then it will be easier for you to incorporate social relevance in your investigation. And then deciding priorities also. Let us say you have got 4 strengths and 4 the issues, and you could map all those 4 strengths and 4 issues, right? Then in that case, what would be your first priority, right? So you need to set your priorities as well. So if you don't prioritize your your strength with the issues, then again you will be ended with frustration. You may end up with frustration, right? So therefore, priorities are going to be very, very important. And then later on, tuning of problem with social issues, like fine tuning. I'm going to say, once you identify social issues, once you identify your own strength and did the mapping, then you need to do a fine tuning so that in real sense you will be able to incorporate. Then next is going to be the credibility or credential of research scholar. Now, in order to inculcate your credential, what you need to do, you need to understand what kind of credential you have. Credential in terms of publications. Let me tell you, my friend, here, because we are talking about now the publication, right? So what kind of research papers so far you have published? You may not. You means your research group. So you need to see, like, you need to understand, like, how many papers you have published so far and what are the focus of those papers. So you need to understand that, right? So that is why I mentioned the previous published work on proposed area, and moreover infrastructure as well, because most of the time what happens, whatever infrastructure we are claiming in our experimental section of our manuscript, let us say we may claim that we are having APACM, we are having AFM, we are having this and these facilities, we have done this experimentation in our laboratory, we are claiming, right? And then if you don't have that, there are some people, they are bluffing. They don't have, but still they are bluffing. They are doing experiment somewhere else and claiming that they do have the facilities with them. So editor is going to check. The editor is going to visit your website or your institution and see whether you are going to have that facility. Because nowadays, because of this internet, everything is available on tip of your fingers. So editors are going to check. Reviewers also going to check whether whatever infrastructure you are claiming, whether you have that infrastructure. And somehow, if you caught there, if you're bluffing, your paper will be outrightly rejected. Next parameter, the drafting skill of the research scholar. Because as I mentioned earlier, the drafting skill also, although everything is fine, novelty, credibility, social relevance, everything is up to the mark, but somehow you are not able to convince, your quality of drafting is not good. So that is also going to be one of the parameter which is going to affect your publication output. So how effectively you are drafting your manuscript. Consistency in the consistency of material. Consistency means whatever you are claiming in abstract, whether you are claiming same thing in the same line in introduction, result discussion, conclusion. Sometimes like many research scholars, they mess up. Like they claim something in abstract and they never refer that in result and discussion. That kind of consistency you might be missing many times. Then the inclusion of appropriate content, because you need to understand like what kind of content need to be incorporated in your manuscript. If you don't incorporate that content, what are those content that I'm going to tell you on the next slide. Then writing and composition issues, because sometimes English is not our native language, right? In India, English is not our native language, so you are bound to have some problems. So what you need to do, you need to take help from the person who is having expertise in English drafting, right? So if you are having this problem, again, it's going to be affected. And it's not only language. What is your style? Sometimes you are very good in grammar, but your style is very poor, right? And for understanding style, what do you need to do? You need to keep on reading research papers, right? The journal in which you are going to submit your paper, you need to keep on reading research paper from the same journal, so that you will be able to understand what kind of writing style that journal expecting from the author. And therefore, that is not only, that's again I'm making same statement, it's not only grammatical writing. Although your grammar is good, but your style is very poor, again is going to be a problem for you, right? Then what are the common content errors? Because let me tell you those, like misleading title. Sometimes what happens, like what is misleading title? Let us say you are working on sensor. Now, if you are working on sensor, if your significant result is based on sensor, that should be reflected in the title, right? And you if you are not putting that in title, you are putting something else. So it will be like it's like you are misleading yourself, truly speaking. Inaccurate abstract. Sometimes like abstract need to be very, very, I will tell you like what should be there and what should not be there in abstract in detail. Incomplete introduction, because in introduction is going to be very important. Let me tell you, my friend, all these three parameters, novelty, social relevance, and your credibility, that need to be reflected in your introduction section. Sometimes what happens, people write, this research scholar write abstract like today, and then they are going to take off maybe for a couple of months, and then after 2-3 months they will start writing introduction. No, it's not, because then you will be losing sequence. So you should not do that. What you need to do is, rather you need to complete your manuscript in one stroke. One stroke doesn't mean that one day. It may take a couple of months, but once you start working on manuscript, you should not do something else, because drafting manuscript is something you need very quality time that you need to understand. As far as introduction is concerned, as I mentioned earlier, in introduction, novelty, your credibility and social relevance is going to be tested. You need to ensure that this has been reflected in your introduction. Then careless methods, like as far as methods and techniques are concerned, sometimes what happens, you must have published many papers, right? And since you are using same method, same experimentation, what you will be tempted to copy content as it is from your earlier published paper, and this is going to be serious plagiarism, self plagiarism, right? So you should not, every time you need to write new method, right? New method means, although you are using the same methodology, although you are using same instrumentation, but you need to write freshly. You cannot copy from your previous publication. Most of the research scholar, they are doing this mistake, and therefore they are, the paper is coming back from the editor itself that you have committed plagiarism, self plagiarism. Omitted result, like sometimes what happens, it all depends. Like sometimes you have a plenty of data with you, but you have some restriction because of the journal page limitation. So there are some journals, they don't want more than 5 pages, they don't want more than, they have the page limit, right? So because of that, even like figures also, they will not allow you to include as many figures as you want, right? There will be some limitation on figures also, right? So you will have to omit some result, right? So whenever you are omitting result, then you should not lose the sequence. Consistency need to be maintained, that you need to be very careful about. Illogical discussion, like whatever claim you have made in the abstract, accordingly whatever claim you have made in introduction, that same claim need to be defended in result and discussion. And if you are not doing that, if it is, your logic is missing, again your paper is not going to be accepted. Irrelevant conclusion, in conclusion also, like whatever you have whatever statement you have made in discussion, abstract, introduction and result and discussion, in the same line you should be able to conclude. Sometimes your conclusion would be it is out of scope, right? So if you are doing that, then again it's going to be referred as content errors. So these are some of the example of content errors I thought I should tell you right in the beginning. Okay, so this was the background. So I thought, let me tell you the background. So now we will see like how manuscript is to be drafted. So whenever you are talking about drafting of manuscript, what you will be doing? First of all, you will be doing some experiment, of course, after literature review, after your hypothesis, objectives, methodology. So you will be doing some experiment, and if you are from social sciences, you will be doing some survey, and at the end of that you will be having some data. And then once you have a data, you should go through a very stringent thought process, how you are going to align your data. Once you have everything with you, you should go through a very comprehensive thought process, and then you should start drafting. So whenever you can see, this is example, whenever you are drafting, you will be having lot of papers with you, lot of data with you, so that you can correlate your data and you will be able to draft a very impactful manuscript. Now, I would like to tell you, like every time you need to do this Viva analysis. Whenever this Viva analysis, not only right in the beginning of your research career, this has to be done very frequently. Like for example, you have data with you and you have to start manuscript drafting. Again, do this Viva analysis. Right in the beginning, before literature review, do this Viva analysis. Once you finish experiment, do this Viva analysis. Once you start, before starting drafting a manuscript, my suggestion would be you should go ahead and do this Viva analysis. What is this Viva analysis all about? Let me tell you, my friend. Kaizen, I would like to introduce one very important terminology, Kaizen. What is Kaizen? Kaizen is Japanese business philosophy of continuous improvement of working practices and personal efficiency. In fact, Japan started adopting this not only in industry, but even in academics also, since years together. What is Kaizen? Kaizen means continuous improvement. I mean, you need to continuously improve yourself. Whatever you are today, tomorrow there should be a little improvement. You should be one step ahead. Now, how to do this? there is a scientific method to adopt the this continuous improvement. Now, as far as this Kaizen is concerned, in India, since last many years, this Kaizen concept has been adopted by the industry, because they are very much, because in industry, let me tell you, my friend, there are many Kaizen competitions happening. Everybody has to do Kaizen every year. It's every year, forget about 5 years, every year, right? So everybody will be advised to do some sort of Kaizen in their day-to-day working. Let us say, I will quote one example. For example, you are operator in one of the industry, right? And you are producing 100 job card devices, for example, on one particular machine, 100 every day this year. So what your boss is going to tell you? Your boss is going to tell you that, fine, today, I mean, this year you are producing 100. Now, next year, I want you to produce 110. Now, whatever you want to do, you do. I don't know. You have to do, this is your headache. Whatever modification you have to do, you do on your own. See how you are going to come up with the 110 or at least incremental device. So this is called as quantitative Kaizen, right? Sometimes you may not be advised to increase number. You may be advised to enhance by quality, right? So whatever devices you are having, you might be doing compromise on some qualitative aspect. So your boss may advise you to improve the your device in terms of some qualitative aspect. So this has become mandatory in industry, even in India. If you don't do Kaizen, you will be, let me tell you, my friend, you will be thrown away from the industry if you don't do Kaizen. Don't you think that this should be adopted in academics as well? Truly speaking, it should be. Everybody should be advised to do Kaizen, and those who are not able to do Kaizen, they should be punished. Let me tell you, my friend, they should be punished. But unfortunately, it has not started in India. Hopefully, it will start soon. It will be started soon. So how to do the continuous improvement? You need to do viva analysis. What the viva analysis is all about? You need to understand what the current and previous studies have been done on the issues to be studied. Now, like for example, whatever study you have done, you need, while drafting manuscript, you need to see at that point of time what work has been done by other people, so that you will be able to proper inculcate novelty. You need to do some deviation, right? That you can do. Then what is the available information on the magnitude, nature, and classes of the problem? Then what are the present gap? You need to identify present gap and see whether you can. Once you identify present gap, then you need to prepare a substantial, very comprehensive strategy to bridge that gap. Okay, and most importantly, this is very important. Why has the problem not been tackled yet? This is very important. Sometimes what happens whenever you are doing literature review for young research scholar, this is very important. So, like if you even if you collect, like you have collected 100 research paper, and you might come across one particular topic which has not been tackled by anybody till that point of time, and you might be excited, right, that this problem has not been tackled by anybody at this point of time, and then it will be very novel for me, and then I can earn very good award and reward, right? My friend, you need to understand why that problem has not been tackled yet. That also, because there might be some problem as well, right? So you need to understand that as well. So if you could do this proper systematic viva analysis, I'm sure it will be like you will be a better person to draft your manuscript. I'm just creating your mindset to draft the manuscript. Now, moreover, before you draft manuscript, you need to take, because a lot of resources are available on net nowadays, right? So these are some resources available on net for style and grammar. These are some books. There are some books also, books available for scientific writing, right? These are some of the books which are available on the net. You can see this. This is available online, UCLA link. This is UCLA link available online. You are going to get a lot of hints how to drop the scientific manuscript, and there are many videos and presentations available on the net. As far as motivation is concerned, there could be different motivation, because that is also equally important. Now, like what I observed, this is based on this particular reference, we observed that 50%, 54% of research scholars, they want to publish their data just for dissemination of their ideas, dissemination of whatever work, dissemination of the research output, right? 20% of research scholars, they are publishing because of just to have the career prospects. 13% they want to have the improved funding, like somebody like they already have funding and they would like to go for higher funding, so they would like to have publications, right? For that purpose there are 13%. These are the motivation I'm talking about. There are 9% of people, they want to satisfy their own ego. They are least bothered about dissemination, career prospect, improved funding. They're doing nothing, but still they want like papers to publish just to satisfy their ego. And other 2 to 4% they are doing this for protecting their patent as well. Now, what are the author publishing priorities that you need to understand? Like whenever you are submitting a paper, what should be your priorities? Priority should be referring speed, referring standard, and journal reputation. Now, as far as referring speed is concerned, I'm going to show you some website on which you can search the journal and you can see like how fast the journal is for referring, right? And then if not, what you can do, like you focus one journal, identify one journal, download papers, go through the papers. On the title page itself, there you will find the date of submission, date of acceptance, and date of revision and date of final acceptance. Based on those dates, you will be able to see like how the referring speed is. Now, referring standard. Now there are many journals nowadays, like Frontier is one of those. They are printing the name of like editor as well as handling editor. I'm going to say handling editor and reviewer on the top page, the front page of the journal, so that if you see the names by the name itself, you will be able to understand how the standard of that journal is, and journal reputation. So that is also equally important. You need to understand journal. Whenever you are talking about journal reputation, I thought let me tell you some guidelines, right? How journal can be identified. Let us presume that you are well aware of this, so I will be quickly going through this because there are many aspects I would like to cover. But quickly, I'm going to tell you how the impact factor is going to be calculated. Usually, the impact factor is calculated based on the citation, record of the journal, last 2 years citation record. So if you look at the formula is, like in denominator, what is there? In denominator, during last 2 years, how many articles have been published by the journal, which is being, which we are talking about, right? In 2020, for example, if you really want to calculate the impact factor of 2020, then 18 and 19, last 2 years, how many papers have been published? And then out of those, let us say 200 papers, out of those 200 papers, how many paper got citation in index journal? That is very important. Let us say all 200 papers got citation one time. So there would be 200 in numerator, 200 in denominator, impact factor would be 1. Now you can see denominator remains same because total number of articles will not increase, right? But citation can be less or citation can be more. If there are less citation, there will be less impact factor. More citation, more impact factor. What does it mean? It means that like higher impact factor journals are always having more citation and they are popular, and you are going to cite the journals if they are having quality papers, right? Now, as far as impact factor is concerned, nowadays there are many journals coming up, offering their own impact factor, right? You need to see like who is the provider. So earlier, Institute of Scientific Information (ISR) used to look into the impact factor globally. Now later on, Thomson Reuters. Nowadays, the Clarivate Analytics is going to like look up the impact factor globally. So you need to see like whether it is from Thomson Reuters or Clarivate Analytics. Now, because since we are talking about the quality of the work, HIndex is the term which you must have come across very oftenly, right? What is HIndex? HIndex is basically a kind of index that will measure the productivity and impact of your published work of the scientist or scholar. Now, let us say you have got 100 papers, right? Now, even if you have 100 papers, but your HIndex is 5, what does it mean? It means that out of those 100 papers, only 5 people got 5 citations. It means it's not good. Only out of 100, only 5 people got 5 citations. So if you are having 100 papers, your HIndex should be around 20. It means at least 20 papers will have 20 citations. Then list of academic databases. These are some of the databases like those. If you are having the faculty member from social science discipline, then you can see, because many times social science discipline teachers, they believe that they don't have the Scopus Index journal, you can see the Arts and Humanities Citation Index. This is from Web of Science. Indian Status Index. This is Indian Status Index, right? Science Status Index. This is also from Web of Science. Scopus itself is like multidisciplinary. This is also multidisciplinary. This is for Arts and Humanities. This is for Science. Social Science Status Index. This is also from Web of Science. Springer is also multidisciplinary. So there are many, Scopus and Web of Science Index journals. Yeah, you need to see. And then Scopus is like one of the databases, as I mentioned earlier, where like it has started in 2004. There are many, they publish journals, book series, and they publish some reputed conferences as well. Web of Science is, now you can see the Clarivate Analytics. Web of Science is Clarivate Analytics is looking after Web of Science. This is also multidisciplinary. This is the standard of Web of Science is a little bit higher than Scopus. I will show you the comparison as well. And then ResearchGate. ResearchGate is a social networking site for scientists and research scholars to share papers, ask and answer the questions, and find the collaborators. In fact, this is a social network, rather social networking site. And therefore, sometimes what happens, if you are not good in sharing your data with the on this site, your RG score may not be good. And therefore, what happens, let me tell you, my friend, only RG score should not be considered as an academic reputation, because there are many research scholars, they are very passive. They are not very interactive on the ResearchGate. Okay, and therefore ResearchGate score should not be alone considered for considering academic reputation of any research scholar. Then Google Scholar is another database. At least if you don't have any papers in Scopus and Web of Science, you should have some citations from Google Scholar, because Google Scholar take care of even non-index journal as well. Because Scopus and Web of Science take care of mostly 99% index journal, maybe 1% non-index journal, but in Google Scholar there are many non-index journal as well. Okay, then let me go through. Okay, this is how the comparison of citation comparison. For citation comparison, you can see, as I mentioned earlier, Web of Science will have it's like in terms of quality, it is higher, right? I will start from Google Scholar. These are numbers from myself only. These are my citation number. I'm having total number of papers in Google Scholar 211, but in Scopus it is 133 only. You can see here, because here many non-index journal Google Scholar is going to take care, whereas in Web of Science it is only 119. As far as citation is concerned, in Google Scholar I am having 3017 citation, but in Scopus citations are 22441, and in Web of Science 1908. You can see the numbers are declined. And HIndex, Google Scholar I am having 32 index, Scopus it is 27, and Web of Science is 26. You can see the decline, right? It means Web of Science I-10 index, they don't, Scopus and Web of Science, they don't consider I-10 index. Google Scholar only calculate. So you can see the Web of Science standard is a little bit higher than Scopus. And Scopus, that is why nowadays in NAC as well as NIRF, they will be asking you Web of Science and Scopus index papers. They are not going to consider the Google Scholar paper. Whenever you are talking about journal reputation, you need to understand like site score. What is site score? Site score is the 3-year site score will take account of the citations from for last 3 years, right? Impact factor will take care of the citation count during last 2 years, but Web of Science will take care of citation count since last 3 years, right? You can see if you want to have the site score of journal in 2020, then 17 to 19. The whatever number of paper published during 17 to 19, that will goes to the numerator, denominator, and the citation will go into the numerator, right? And as a result of that, you will get site score. Therefore, site score will be better than impact factor parameter to be judged. Then 5-year impact factor. There are 4 parameters rather. Whenever you are searching journal, you need to consider 4 parameters, right? Site score, 5-year impact factor, because you will be like, there are some journal, they may be having good impact factor like this year, but it was not good in earlier 2-3 years. So therefore you need to see what is his 5-year impact factor, so that you can see the consistent quality publication. AJR is going to take care of not only quantitative, the qualitative as well. like how many citations your journal is having, and who is citing your papers, right? That is also going to be taken care by HAR. And SNP is going to be source normalized impact factor. SNP measures impact factor per paper within the field. Like sometimes what happens, your impact factor is good, but all the papers are not going to have good citation. There will be some paper, they will be having very less number of citations. So for them, SNP is going to be better. It is going to normalize the impact factor of your journal. So therefore, if you really want to identify a journal of international repute, a very standard journal, you go to the website and see what is site score, what is 5-year impact factor, what is HGR, and what is SNP. Unless you do this, you should not. I will not advise you to identify that journal. These are some of the websites. You can see journal finder. If you want to submit your data to any journal, then this is website from Springer, journalsuggested.springer.com. You will be able to see, like you can click on this link, and you can search the better journal for your topic. If you want to submit a paper in elsewhere journal, then you can. This is another site, journalfinder.elsewhere.com. And if you are least bothered about Springer and elsewhere, this is journal, right? Journalguide.com, right? Then, but however, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes this Springer and elsewhere may have some, non-index journal as well. Sometimes what happens, like elsewhere may have some, because they must have started a few journals very recently, and that may not be indexed either in Scopus or Web of Science, right? And therefore, there will be like maybe 1 or 2% journals in these elsewhere as well as Springer. They might be a non-index journal, right? Therefore, what you can do, there are two different sites. They will be telling you only index journal, like medsciediting.com. They will be telling you only, like index journal, and clarivate.com. This is for Science Citation Index. This is for Web of Science. They will be telling you only the index journal. And this is another website I will like to advise you to refer for writing effective style. So there will be a lot of phrases you will be coming across, like whenever, like for example, you have submitted papers and you got some suggestion from your editor that there is a lot of plagiarism, right? So the plagiarism word need to be removed out from your manuscript, and that can be done by going through this particular website. And I will advise you to refer this website if you really want to come up with good papers. Now, whenever you are submitting manuscript, you need to see like what would be the priorities of reader, right? Because the reader are going to judge your manuscript, right? So reader, those who are going to read your paper, they are going to see whether your article is quality, whether the journal has got ease in access, whether it is rapid in delivery, whether its format is convenient, whether its linkages are proper, whether it is freely available, and whether it is providing up-to-date information. So whenever you are selecting journal, this should be your priority, because since these are the reader's priority, this should be a priority for identification of journal. Now I will take a break for maybe for 2 minutes, because